Welcome Tina Nord and Kathleen Jaedtke. The floor is yours. Hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to our talk. I'm Tina Nord. This is Kathleen Jaedtke. We are two marketing experts from Berlin, and since the end of 2016, we have been looking into artificial intelligence. We talk about two sub-subjects: speech search and visual search. And Kathleen will start and look into the speech function and then look into visual search. Welcome. I talk about speech search, and we all know the problem to look for things with the text is very time-consuming, especially if you want to find a present online. Why is it so difficult to find something online? The reason is that in our text search, we have to consider certain aspects, and it becomes very complicated when we haven't got an anchor point, a brand, or a technical term. The next step, we have to think about the word. We have to be able to describe it. We have to know how to spell it. The next step is that the search has to be sophisticated, and that costs time. So why don't we stop searching, but start finding by voice search? And it's machine learning. That's the technology behind it. The recognizing, the understanding, and the synthesis of voice. So progress in the technology are only possible to speak to computers. And it's important that Google said in May 2017 that the error rate of its voice software has been reduced to below 5%. It's now at human level. And a further improvement is to be expected in this area. By 2021, more machines will be in the world which will have digitalized machines than people in the world. So voice search as against text search has got advantages. It's very informative. It gives you insight about the gender of the searching person or the emotions of this person. It doesn't require a lot of effort. As against text search, it's fast. A human being can speak 140 words per minute, but only a certain number of words to be typed. It is personalized, it's personal, and due to the context, this is given by previous searches. And it is very often without using your eyes. You can close your eyes. It's also relevant for those who are visually impaired or blind. So it's hands-free. You can do cooking. You can paint a wall. So you will be multitasking. You can do a search and you can paint a wall. And this is also possible to be used by physically impaired people. So there was not a software engineer which was programmed, but it developed over the thousands. It's mobile, and we will have more searches via mobile apparatuses than via desktop, and it is barrier-free. It does not require any spelling or reading technology and can also be used by those who've got difficulties in reading and spelling. So how can I prepare my website for voice search? And this is the key to success is in the position 0, or the featured snippets, which you see on the right-hand side. You can see this. The answer on a search is given in an answer box, which is above the organic search results and the Google Assistant, and will be read out by Google Home. It's very important that your content is optimized towards featured snippets. You have to think about what are the problems of the people who search, and then you have to make the answers available in the content. You have to also understand that when you use voice search, our search will become longer. As if you're talking to your person opposite, you will say, how do I clean white sneakers, for example, so that the long-term keyword area has to be considered. Another important factor is that you think of the loading speed. You don't want to wait 5 to 6 seconds until the Google Assistant will give you the answer. Don't think only of Google, but think of the problems and the questions of your customers in the back of their heads, your heads. You can use user research, and you can also use research in order to find the answers. So when we look at the finding in 2017 and 18, you can see that voice search is becoming omnipresent by having digital assistants, Samsung Bixby, which was added in 2017, and also Telecom has got a digital assistant, which will then be published next spring. By having smart loudspeakers, for example, Google in autumn 2017, the Google Home Mini and Max, and also the Sonos loudspeaker was brought into the market. The most important thing, I think, for the customer is that after Amazon, Google also enables transactions via Google. First in the US in 2017, it became possible by having a cooperation of Google with Walmart and Target. So the customers of Walmart and Target were able to order their goods via Google Home, anything from chocolate down to washing detergent and toilet rolls. And these kinds of products of daily use, this is perfect because you don't need any kind of images or product descriptions because you know what kind of chocolate you want. Second cooperation happened in France. Google with Sephora, and they offer the customer that they can book a date, an appointment via Sephora in a spa, and also with Ocado, a cooperation with Alexa, to order food via voice. It's interesting that it's also possible in Germany since March 2018, and one of the first cooperation partners of Google was Flixbus. So the customers of Flixbus can then book their ticket via voice, via the Google Assistant and Google Home. And the whole transaction process will then be operated by the Google Assistant. You don't have to go onto the website or onto the app. It is all done in Google Assistance within the Flixbus Google Action. What they do is a voice-activated chat button which will ask about the information. Where do you want to start your journey, your destination, and the time? And then the checkport will give you the connections then. So conversational commerce can fulfill the promises of the customer. So some advice for you, how you can prepare yourself to a voice search world. And it's important for you to think about how voice technology can enrich the experience of customers. Where does it make sense that your brand or your company or your service is offered via voice to your customer in order to make the journey for the customer smooth and easy? Learn the rules of conversational commerce. Understand your customers. Learn to understand them. How do they want to dialogue with you? In a humorous way or rather more matter-of-fact way? And then identify the decisive factors of the customer. What are the relevant points of customers in Germany? Where do they have misgivings, data protection, or actually don't know what the advantages of voice search are? Identify that and do think about interfaces. What kind of voice would you like to offer to the customer? What kind of voices are to represent your brand, your company? A female voice, a male voice? Could it be a testimonial or an actor's voice? Do optimize your content for voice search. Think about featured snippets and long words and also loading speed. What can you do to prepare in the long run on a voice controlled word? So you have to create trust via data protection. Within 1 week's time, it will become very important. Communicate how you will use the data and how you collect the data so that the customer feels that the data are protected, and find out how your customers feel. Do they have misgivings when there is no display? Do they have problems with that? How do they deal with the situation? That's very important. So we have heard that voice search makes finding easier. Apart from the voice search, you have got another technical trend, which is visual search. And this is what I will talk about. Visual search is more intuitive than text search. 90% of the information taken up by the brain is visual, and it will be processed 60,000 times faster than other type of information. So we have a faster intuitive test. So why is it very important? Let's have a look at the journey of the customer with visual search without modern technology. We start with a surfing on the net. It's about inspiration. I'm on Instagram or Facebook, and I do see a picture I like. It could be a landscape. I would like to travel there. It could be a piece of clothing I would like to see, or anything else which inspires me. We did tests on that, and most of the users, when that happens to them, do a screenshot, put it on the site, and then have a file on the mobile handset, and it remains then. When they are bored and people have time on a Sunday afternoon or evening, they look at the screenshot again and think, well, that was a great dress. I would like to see it again. And then for the first time, they will look for anchor points. And this is what Kathleen has mentioned. It's the same process which happens here. And do I know something about the brand, about the style? Do I know something about the quality of the clothes, which helps me via text search to find information? And that is the huge challenge. This is where the point where the customer says, where do I search? Most of them go into Google and will type in an endless row of words. And as a role, this is the biggest pain point. They don't find what they look for. They don't find the product which they were inspired by. Well, in some exceptional cases, you can find this is this brand, and they will go into that shop where the brand is sold and then are successful, and to find the product and put it into the shopping cart. And I'll show you again how you can solve the pain point via visual search. Who knows House of Cards? A lot of them, most of them. And in this show, Claire Underwood is the first lady, and she has got her own style of clothes, and it is searched for 80,000 times per month. A lot of people try to identify her clothes and to buy it, and this is what happened. An endless row of words are typed in order to find the one piece of clothing. And in contrast, on the other hand, I will show you how the visual search to take a picture of the piece of clothes I like, and via a visual search engine to find this item or similar ones. The technology behind it is already part of our everyday life. Nothing new. Machine vision, and is used in face recognition mainly. When I go to an airport and the cameras register my face, and I go to the toilet and I put on a false beard and come out, they will register that, the cameras, and they will trigger an alarm. And then you've got a lot of problems with the security staff. A harmless example is Facebook. If I upload a picture on Facebook, they will automatically suggest, this is your friend XYZ. Do you want to tag this friend? This is done on the same technology. Commercially, it is used in the US. Tesco, for example, or Target, it's a supermarket chain. And what happens? You go to the till, and via face recognition, they can see this is man or woman of a certain age group, And then the advertising, which will show at the till, will then be tailor-made to your gender and to your age group. And another example for commercial use, there are a lot of apps which allow visual searches. ASOS, Lidl, a lot of American supermarket chains in the US, they're a bit faster in that respect. And this is why it is already part of daily life. Amazon also offers that. The theory behind it is there are 3 ways of search. In the year 2000, it all started. There was a big event. There was a woman there with a breathtaking green Jennifer Lopez with a green dress, and then a lot of people asked and searched this dress of Jennifer Lopez, and they could not deliver a search result, and there is a need to look for images and then pictures. And then Google introduced the picture search in 2006. There was an evolution. TinEye, they claim they were the first ones to have the reverse search. I did not type a word in to find a bind. I uploaded a picture or URL, and then based on that, I found other picture files which are similar. And the latest development is now happening in the machine learning visual search, which is a very pixel-to-pixel comparison in order to find and identify similar pictures. You can find that, for example, or Google is one of the leading researchers in that area. I don't know whether the developers conference, Google I/O 2018, computer vision and machine vision were the key topics at that conference, and especially visual search.
Now, why is it important for the commercial process? Just think about yourselves. How often do you take pictures? We all take our mobile phones everywhere we go. I see you taking pictures of me with your mobile phone. So basically, you know, it's part of our daily lives. 1.2 trillion pictures were taken per year. So it's a thing that we use on a daily basis. Users interact more with pictures. We know from big publishers like BuzzFeed that image contributions have 5 times more traffic than word contributions. Images can be processed much more easily. 40% of US customers say before they purchase anything, they look for images, for pictures, and they need 3 to 4 pictures to take a decision in favor of purchasing something. So in order to sell, in order to create, to trigger a transaction, I need images. Images translate imagination, inspiration rather. And this is why the big companies started to leave the speech, the text search, and went to create the image search. The new devices that are coming out have screens. All of them have screens. And that is not just because smartphones are so popular, but transactions need pictures. As Kathleen said, I don't have to know what my coffee looks like to order my coffee, something that I need on a weekly basis. But when it comes to fashion, for example, I need pictures. If it's about that kind of transaction, both come together, the text search and the image search, the visual search. There are 2 lines. The top line shows the time, the development over time of voice, and the line below of visual. There are 2 names, Facebook and Google, and both of them agreed to integrate screens on their devices, on the current and upcoming devices. Google was a bit ahead of them. And this is what it could look like.
Das Ganze
All of that, it's called visual discovery. That was an example of Pinterest. Pinterest was the trigger that made me become interested in all of that because I thought that's amazing. I saw that at the end of 2016 and I said that is going to change e-commerce. Once it prevails, once customers know how they can use that technology for themselves. Visual discovery, the name was chosen because we expect the generations that grow up with that technology will be called Generation Discovery, because they will expect that any type of information they can get it at an instant. Just imagine you walk through a botanical garden, you see a plant you don't know. You will be able to take the camera. Actually, it is possible already today. You just point your camera at it, and then your smartphone will tell you what type of plant it is or flower. You will know in an instant what you want to know. You'll get the information right away. And that does not only hold true for plants or flowers, it holds true for stars, the alignment of stars in the sky. There are apps that will tell you which summits you see from a certain point in the mountains. Any type of information you can imagine can be retrieved that way. However, what they use it for mainly is shown by the following statistics. The main area for which visual search is already used is fashion and shoes. And I believe Google recognized that already, which would explain why on their developers conference they now announced a launch of something that is called Style Witch. And that is exactly what I've shown you on Pinterest. The customer photographs a piece of clothing that they like, and they get the shopping results, a list of results with exactly that piece of clothing or a similar one. But we also know it if it concerns electronic devices, food, or kitchen appliances. This is another example that we wanted to share with you. This is an app called Vivino, and you might know this. You're invited to a party and you're supposed to bring a bottle of wine, but you just simply don't know what type of wine is the best or the most suitable. Vivino there will help you. When you go to the supermarket, you use your camera of the smartphone. You scan the etiquette or you take a picture of the etiquette, of the label rather. You can compare several types of wine, and then the community will tell you which recommendations there are or which feedback there is for this particular bottle of wine. And then you will buy the right one for the party. Very intuitive. This is Google's vision. It's called Google Lens, and it's similar to Vivino, but it's not the same. You don't take a picture and then get information, but you just raise your smartphone. You don't even take a picture anymore. You get information in real time. In this case, about a restaurant, online recommendations, feedback, stars, etc. And that is great if I'm in a city I don't know, in a town where I don't know where to go, which restaurant to choose. That is uncomplicated and a great way to find a good restaurant. Now, how can you optimize your page with regard to visual search? We found during user testings that the search results page is the most important thing. First, the customer must be aware of the fact that you have this functionality of a visual search. Amazon does it nicely. They explain, and Zalando does it too. They explain nicely how you use the search engine for a visual search. Once the customers realized how it works, they're usually excited about it. The users I talked to were absolutely smitten by that. Some claimed even that the text search was a thing of the past. But it means at the same time that the search result list is the essential page. For example, Claire Underwood's dress. We take a picture, we look for this particular dress in a fashion shop, and then this leads us to a results page. The results really need to be similar to what Claire Underwood was wearing in that particular series. We even found that customers prefer it if the results are just similar and not the same, because they said the style of this influencer might be great, but I don't want to copy it. I want to have my individual touch. This is why I prefer similar products on the search list than identical ones. How can I optimize that? The customer might say, I like this search result, I don't like this search result or the other one. And they want to be able to press plus or minus and then get similar products shown. But apps are able to learn, and that is one way to personalize, to optimize this visual search. Another thing we found is this. When the user is in a process of doing a visual search, they want to continue with the visual navigation. That means the customer sees similar products, clicks on that one picture, and expects, yet again, pictures with similar products. So the customers navigate only via the pictures. Now, that doesn't mean that every shop has to construct their own visual search engine. You can't do that. You don't have the resources to do so. It would be crazy to do that. And this is why it is worth cooperating with certain companies. All of these companies offer visual search engines. They can all be integrated into your websites. It's not that expensive. However, one thing I would ask you to do before you start, do some user testing beforehand. Identify your use case relevant for your users. Andre of Konversionskraft, who spoke before us, he said it nicely. Start with the customers, and that is necessary here too. Now that means we know, for example, that customers don't like to photograph people on the street just because they like their style of clothing, but they want screenshots, and they want to be able to upload their screenshots. But that is something you only find out when you actually talk to the customers, when you provide the technology to them and say, how would you use it? What would you use it for? What would be the benefit for you? So much from our side. We now have a video that shows our core statements very nicely.
Ja, danke schön.
Thank you very much, Tina and Kathleen. That was a fascinating presentation and an overview of the visual and text search area. It reminds me of the keynote, Stefan's keynote this morning, where he said these are the first, indicators that is something that will be prevalent in the future. But now, you should think about this now, because it will become the reality soon enough. I'm not sure. Are there any questions to the two ladies? We still have some minutes. Do you have some questions? Is there anybody who would like to raise a question or give a statement? There you go. Hello. I'm Dimitri. I'm not sure whether that's a smart question, but I'm not from Germany. But what about accent? I work in Germany, but I have an accent in German. Could you please repeat that? Artificial intelligence. Can they, when I speak German with an accent, what happens? The voice recognition, you mean? Yes. Well, currently that is a huge challenge, especially dialects, regionalisms, accents. That is indeed a huge challenge. I think it is hugely important because there are so many people, non-German natives in German. Unfortunately, the technology hasn't caught up yet. Right, thank you. Are there any further questions from the audience? I see no requests for the floor. Right. In that case, thank you very much for your presentation. See you soon.